Hey everybody, I hope you're all having a great week this week. This was a very special few days here in Congress as we had a great opportunity to host the River Kids here on Capitol Hill. My son Maverick, my 6-year-old, my middle son, he joined us this week. Got to have a fun week with Dad. Went out to the Korean War Memorial last night, but we also spoke a lot about water and did a lot of other things. He's got his bottle of toxic algae with us. What do you think about this, buddy? Yeah. Would you go swimming in this? Would you go fishing in this? No. Do you think other people should have to do that? No, definitely not. It's pretty gross, huh? Thanks for being up here this week. Go on. See you, buddy. Anyways, always great to have my monkeys here with me. You know, while most kids around the country, they are enjoying their summer, they're out on the beach, they're at a lake, they're going fishing. These kids are up here in Washington, they're protesting, they're fighting for clean water in our community. These kids, they're from around the Treasure Coast. They've had enough of their water being destroyed, of their summers being ruined, of their health being put at risk, and not just their health, but the health of their parents, the health of their friends, the health of anybody that comes in contact with the water, and above all, the Army Corps of Engineers. They need to work along with everybody else to make sure that this decades-long problem is fixed. We need change. The reality is, and I spoke about this on the floor of the House of Representatives, that the Treasure Coast plays no role in polluting Lake Okeechobee, but we get all of the adversity, we get all of the negatives of the water coming out of Lake Okeechobee, even though we don't go out there and pollute their water. This is a major problem. It affects my family just the same as it affects everybody else. One of the things that I would say just right off the bat is this. I did hear from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers just recently, and they had mentioned to me that for the next 9 days for sure, they couldn't commit beyond that, but for the next 9 days, they will be ceasing their releases of water to the Treasure Coast. So that's very good news for our waterways, allowing that salt water to flow back into our coastal estuary and hopefully prevent it from being turned as fresh as what it is right now and allow it to be turned back into a saltwater estuary, which is what it's supposed to be. So that's a good step in the right direction for this 4th of July week that we have coming up here. So anyways, that's why the kids were up here in D.C. What they're essentially being forced to do, it's a result of the destruction in our community. That's why they're up here. That's why they're not getting to go out and do the things that they really want to be doing above all, which is enjoying their summer, as kids should be able to do. You know, that's why they're up here sharing their personal stories and experiences that they've had in their ruined summers year after year after year. And we could have the same thing done up here with adults, with people that are losing their bait shops, that are losing their businesses of all different kinds because their businesses can't survive when nobody's using the waterways. And this, it affects everybody. It affects my family in this way, and I know the different ways that it affects so many other families out there from all the people that I've spoke to about this. The health effects of toxic algae, friends being forced to move, businesses being forced to move out of the area, shut down. They're all a truly inspiring group of young men and women that came up here, and I really appreciate their passion that they brought up here, their stories that they brought up here, and in that I want to thank all the River Kids for their time this week, everything that they did to make this week happen. So anyways, that's why I invited them to meet with the lawmakers who have the power to make that change happen. They spoke with a number of people while they were up here. They spoke with Congressman Garrett Graves. He's the chairman of the Water Resources and Environment Subcommittee. I'm the vice chair of the Water Resources and Environment Subcommittee. They spoke with Chairman Bill Schuster. He is the chairman of the Transportation and Infrastructure Full Committee, whose committees oversee the Army Corps of Engineers. So that's a very important committee. It's why I asked to be on that committee, because they oversee the Corps of Engineers. The River Kids also shared their personal stories with Senator Marco Rubio, with Senator Bill Nelson, who also sit on the committees that are really, they're critical to our water priorities. And because it's crucial that the Senate includes all of these projects that we've been working on here in the House in the final Senate Water Resources and Development Act. We talked about that a couple videos prior. That bill, the Water Resources and Development Act that we did here in Congress, they also have one in the Senate. They have to merge the two of those together. That's why it's so important that they also speak to those senators about all of these issues. So all of the provisions that we put forth in the House of Representatives also make it into the final passage of the bill. These kids also met with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers so that the River Kids could tell them in person just how devastating the discharges have been to their families, to their homes, to their way of life. I can't emphasize enough how important it was that these kids got to share their experiences with the effects of toxic algae and give a human face to the consequences of toxic water that the Army Corps discharges into our communities, so that they can see the children that they're hurting each and every day that they release that toxic water into our waterways. They have to be able to look at those faces and answer to them. I was extremely happy that we were able to make these meetings happen. I can't thank those kids enough, and in that, thank all the parents enough as well for taking their kids up here, for making this happen, the passion, the activism, the bravery, to tell the Army Corps and other lawmakers in person that they're just not going to tolerate these discharges into our community any longer. Enough is enough. It has to stop. They did an awesome job. Shifting gears. This week we passed a defense appropriations bill. It funds our military for the next year. This bill will be it's the essential bill in rebuilding our armed forces, restoring our military readiness, supporting our troops. This bill, it also increases funding for the military readiness programs and the modernization of our armed forces. That means that research and development into these new defense systems and technologies for this constantly evolving threats of the battlefield, that they're being met. So it's a very important piece of legislation. Lastly, it included a huge boost for military personnel and pay. That includes a 2.6% pay raise that we authorized, over $34 billion for the defense health program, which funds things like cancer research, traumatic brain injury, psychological health response, sexual assault prevention, and a whole lot more of very important elements of our military to fund there. This ensures that our military is strong, is healthy, is ready to defend the homeland, and that all of the challenges and the threats that we face today are not going to be as challenging to us, and that we have everything that we need to face those threats. Now, I think that this was fitting timing as we head into the 4th of July week, Independence Day. You know, as we reflect on the cost of freedom and the men and women serving overseas right now that make Independence Day possible, I want to say thank you to every one of our members of the military and the armed forces, Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, Coast Guard. Thank you for the work that you do on our behalf each and every day. We love you. We're proud of you. We appreciate you. I took my son out, just the other night to the Korean War Memorial and the World War II Memorial, answered his questions about the things that other Americans had done throughout our history to go out there and defend our incredible nation. And I love to see him soaking up that knowledge about the great history that we have as this incredible country. So it was outstanding. In that, like I said, I want to wish you all the happiest of Independence Day. I hope you have the opportunity to spend time with your friends and your family, to throw some burgers on the grill, to celebrate all that makes our country the best country in the world. As always, it's an honor to represent you here in the Congress of the greatest country ever established in the face of this world. And I want to hope to see you all around town throughout this 4th of July week. Hope you all have a good one. Wish you all the best. See you around town.